All right, and up now we get to a fight that I think everybody is looking forward to. It's probably the most talked about fight on the card in the UFC's bantamweight division. You have the former interim and undisputed UFC bantamweight champion in the number one ranked Pelter No Mercy Jan coming into the fight with a record of 16 victories and 3 defeats, going up against the number 12 ranked fan favorite, social media megastar, and very talented striker, long rangey in Sugar Sean O'Malley, who comes back with a record of 15 victories and 1 defeat. All right. Listen, guys. This fight is, I feel like, a lot more interesting than people are giving it credit. You know, you look at the rankings, you think number 12 versus number 1, what's wrong with the UFC? They're feeding Sean O'Malley to the wolves. They're giving him a fight that there's no way he's going to win. What's the point? You're going to kill him off just like you guys tried to do with Marlon Chito Vera, blah, blah, blah. You know, you hear it all. And then you hear some people say, Sean O'Malley still undefeated, 16-0, going to come in and knock out Petr No Mercy Jan. You know, and we've heard both sides, and that's what's good about this fight is that there's people talking about it. There's people here, they're talking about everything. And look, if it creates money, if it creates talk, it creates cash. You know, controversy creates cash. Talk creates money. Eyes create dollar signs. Here's the thing, though. There's areas in this fight where Sean O'Malley can win. And I have never been the biggest Sean O'Malley fan. I've said that multiple times on this podcast. But I'm giving you my complete unbiased opinion. I am one of the biggest Petr Yan fans that there is in the world. I think I was probably one of the first people in this MMA community to sing Petr Yan's praises and say how good I thought he was going to be, saying that I thought he was going to be a future champion, and I was right. This fight with Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, let's look at the stats first. We'll go over to the UFC.com and we'll look it up. So, 5'7" for Petr Yan to 5'11" for Sean O'Malley. So that is a 4-inch height advantage for the Sugar Show, the number 12 ranked fighter in the division. Reach, it's going to be a 5-inch reach advantage. So, a 4-inch height advantage is a 5-inch reach advantage for Sugar Sean O'Malley. 67-inch reach for Petr Yan, 72-inch reach for Sean O'Malley, 5'7" for Petr Yan, 5'11" for Sean O'Malley. That length, height, and reach is exactly what Sean O'Malley's going to need to use to win this fight. Whenever it gets into close range, whenever it stays in boxing range, Petr Yan fucks up Sean O'Malley. Plain and simple. It stays in boxing range, Petr Yan's going to cut him off, time it, land the straight right hand, land the lead uppercut right hand, 1-2 switch stance into southpaw, land the straight left hand like we just talked about with Dariush and Gamrot. He's going to land that stance switch combination. He's going to rip shots to the body. He's going to land those uppercuts, you know, and once he starts going, it's not going to be good for Sean O'Malley. But keeping Petr Yan at a distance, landing spinning kicks to the body, landing that front snap kick right to the breadbasket, landing the teep kicks, landing the inside and outside low kicks, landing the long jabs, the 1-2s, the 1-2-3-2, the hook cross, any long range attack where Sean O'Malley can maximize his distance, maximize his damage, and minimize his defensive irresponsibility or minimize his danger, maximize the output and minimize the danger zone. If O'Malley can do that, he can win this fight 100%. Would I be upset if Sean O'Malley beat Petr Yan? Absolutely. Would it piss me off? Absolutely. But do I think it can happen? Yeah, I do. I do think it can happen. I definitely think it can. The reach, the length, the distance, you know, using the long range attacks, the front kicks, the teeps, the push kicks, the 1-2s, the high kicks, the spinning back kicks, any of that's going to stop Petr Yan from crashing the pocket and closing the distance is what he's going to need to do to Petr Yan to beat him. Now with Petr Yan, what's he going to want to do? Low kicks, inside and outside low kicks, jabs, feint the jab, outside low kick, 1-2, right low kick, 1-2, kick to the body, left hook, lead kick to the body, 1-2, right hook, right kick to the body behind it, hide the kicks behind the punches and the punches behind the kicks. He's going to want to chop down Sean O'Malley over that 15-minute time frame, get into close range, get him up against the cage, land elbows and uppercuts. 1-2, rear uppercut, left hook, right uppercut, 1-2, 5-2, left hook, rear uppercut, right cross. He's going to want to get in close against Sean O'Malley. And the best way to do that for Petr Yan is to use that lateral movement, use that high guard, but use those low kicks. He has to chop the legs of Sean O'Malley. We've talked about that in the Pedro Munoz fight. We talked about it in every fight with Sean O'Malley. You have to chop the inside and outside low kicks. Petr Yan has to start fast in this fight. He's probably going to lose the first round. You know, Petr Yan is a statistically proven slow starter. He's built for 5 rounds. He's not built for 3. I could easily see Sean O'Malley banking this first round by being able to keep Yan at a distance, being the more active guy as Yan just tries to move laterally, keep the high guard, try to, get the reads on Sean O'Malley, fade off to the rear side, 2-3, fade inside, left hook, right hand, fade off, left hook, right cross, 1-1-2, and just kind of walking forward with his hands high, and then getting picked apart as he tries to close the distance in the first round, and Sean O'Malley win in the first. But I think towards the midpoint of the second round, into the third round, that is where Yan is going to take over. If this was a 5-round fight, 100% I'm siding with Petr Yan. But the fact that this is a 3-rounder, it does worry me that maybe Sean O'Malley banks the first 2 rounds. Like maybe easily he wins the first round because Petr Yan's just trying to get the distance. He's just trying to get the reads, and he's just trying to figure them out. And then he makes the second round pretty close, but the judges give it to O'Malley. But then he dominates the third round and starts beating the shit out of Sean O'Malley. Well, it's going to look like Yan definitely should have won the fight, but maybe he lost the first 2 rounds and they get a 29-28 split decision and it goes to Sugar Sean. That's what worries me because of the lack of starting ability from Petr Yan, because of the fact that he's a slow starter. It does worry me. Now, who's the better striker? Petr Yan. Who's the better boxer? Petr Yan. Who's the more powerful fighter? Petr Yan. Who's the more well-rounded fighter? Petr Yan. That doesn't mean that I don't think Sean O'Malley can win. Stats aren't everything. And the length, the reach, the control, it's very similar to the Corey Sandhagen fight with Petr Yan and Corey Sandhagen. Anything from a distance, anything from far range, anything from kicking range. O'Malley needs to keep this fight at kicking range. Whenever it gets into boxing and clinch range, that's when Petr Yan rips apart Sean O'Malley to the body, to the head, elbows off the clinch, knees and elbows and uppercuts up against the cage, timing his lateral movement to a left hook, right uppercut, timing Sean O'Malley's lateral movement against the cage with those rainbow style uppercuts, trying to time him as he circles into the shot. The 1-2 switch stance, straight left hand as he circles. He's going to try to get O'Malley to circle with his hands down into his power shots. And I think that's what's going to happen. Here's the deal with this fight. I think that Petr Yan should look to resort to his wrestling and grappling in the second and the third rounds. And here's why. A lot of people don't expect Yan to use his grappling, but he has very good switch stance takedown, stepping into southpaw, getting that double leg like he did against Douglas Silva de Andrade. He has very good trip takedowns from inside the clinch. He's got very good ability to catch kicks and use it to trip takedown. Now, against a really long and tall guy, it's going to be harder to get those trips, whether it's inside, outside trips, or catching a kick and tripping the opponent. It's going to be harder against a taller, longer guy because they have so much more space and height to work with. But I think that using the grappling for Petr Yan would be a good, solid advantage for him in this fight. Maybe use the grappling early and then fall back on your striking in the second and the third. But you look at the win percentages for both guys. You've got Petr Yan with a 44% win rate coming by way of KO, TKO, 6% by submission, and 50% by decision. With O'Malley, out of his 15 victories, 73% of those wins come by way of KO, TKO, 7 by submission, and 20% by decision. Average fight time, 16 minutes and 25 seconds for Petr Yan to 8 minutes and 25 seconds for Sean O'Malley. 0.93 knockdowns per 15-minute fight for Petr Yan to 1.25 for the Sugar Show Sean O'Malley. You look at the grappling, or we'll look at significant strikes. 5.45 significant strikes landed per minute for Petr Yan to 7.75 for Sean O'Malley. That's very impressive stats. 53% significant strike accuracy rate for Petr Yan to 62% significant strike accuracy for Sugar Sean O'Malley. Strikes absorbed per minute, 3.88 for Petr Yan and 3.48 for Sugar Sean O'Malley. So slightly less strikes taken by the Sugar Show. 61% striking defense for Petr Yan to 64% striking defense for Sugar Sean O'Malley. So O'Malley has more output. He is more accurate with his strikes landed, and he has better defense overall. But you can't let the stats fool you in this one, because the level of competition that Sean O'Malley has faced compared to the level of competition that Petr Yan has faced, it's night and day. I mean, Raulian Paiva, the no contest to Pedro Munoz, the loss to Marlon Chito Vera, the win over Chris Moutinho, the win over Eddie Wineland. But then Petr Yan's got wins over the likes of Corey Sandhagen, Jose Aldo, technically should have won the first fight against Aljamain Sterling, a win over Jimmy Rivera, a knockout victory over Uriah Faber. You know, the list goes on and on and on. Petr Yan definitely has the higher level of competition, 100%. You look at the grappling, 1.48 takedowns per 15-minute fight for Petr Yan, so almost 1.5, sometimes 2 takedowns per 15-minute fight compared to 0.54 for Sean O'Malley. Like I said, I think it would be very smart if Yan used his wrestling, his grappling, tried to use the top control and really, really suck the life out of Sean O'Malley and land vicious elbows and hammer fists from the top, like Chito Vera did in their fight, even though it was caused to the kick to the peroneal nerve that dropped him, and then he jumped on it and got the finish with the ground and pound. But I think taking down Sean O'Malley and working from inside his guard, looking to work for ground and pound, is definitely a good idea for Petr Yan in this fight over 15 minutes. Takedown defense, 90% takedown defense rate for Petr Yan. 64% takedown defense rate for Sean O'Malley. So obviously better takedown defense is going to be on the side of the former champion. 0.19 submission average for Petr Yan to 0.54 for Sugar Sean O'Malley. You look at the odds, I mean, Petr Yan sitting at minus 305 to plus 255 for Sugar Sean O'Malley. Here's the deal, guys. I'm a little worried, like I said, about Petr Yan because of his lack of starting ability. And I talked about that. I think that there is a possibility that Sean O'Malley could potentially steal the first 2 rounds, but he get dominated in the third, and then it goes to the point where Sean O'Malley would win 2 out of the 3 rounds on the scorecards. I think that Petr Yan will have some issues with the length of Sean O'Malley in that first round. But in my opinion, I think that it's going to be vicious and violent from the midpoint of the second round through the third. And that's where Petr Yan is really going to take over. I think he's going to chop with those low kicks. He's going to work those kicks to the body as Sean O'Malley's moving laterally. He's going to land those low kicks to slow down the movement of O'Malley, and then he's going to work his boxing. He's going to work his combinations. He's a master of sport in Russia and boxing. The guy has some of the cleanest hands in mixed martial arts and some of the best boxing in the entire bantamweight division. I think he is the best boxer at 135 pounds. The left hook into the right hand, the left hook into the right uppercut. His lack of windup with those uppercuts, like you saw against Uriah Faber from inside the clinch. The 1-2s, the 1-2 switch stance, straight left hand, the jab left hook right hand, the left hook right hand, slipping to his rear right side to land a left hook over the counter cross, and then come back with a cross of his own and follow up with another hook. I think that the boxing, I think he's going to start low and work his way up to the head. Inside and outside low kicks and kicks to the body to slow down the movement of Sean O'Malley and make him a stationary target. And then the boxing, the working inside the clinch, the elbows, the uppercuts, the 3-2s, the 2-3s, the 1-1-2s, 1-2 switch stance cross. And I think Petr Yan's going to take over, potentially getting a finish, but I think he's going to dominate the midpoint of the second round on, and then dominate in the third round and win 2 out of the 3 rounds. But I do think O'Malley will win the first round because it's going to take Yan a little bit of time to get the reads and pick up on the timing of Sean O'Malley. So maybe the best bet would be to live bet on Petr Yan, not take him at a minus 300, not take him at a minus 290, but wait till the second round when it might be a pick'em like minus 110, minus 110. Then you jump on Petr Yan and get him at a much better price tag, but you obviously couldn't parlay him at that point. But that's probably the best way to attack this fight in terms of a betting perspective. In a parlay piece, I like Petr Yan. I know he's at a hefty price tag, but I honestly think he should be much bigger of a favorite. I think Yan should be 5-1 in this fight. I could see a minus 500, minus 450. I think he should be a much bigger favorite. I think anything minus 300 and under, you're kind of getting a steal for Petr Yan in this fight against Sean O'Malley. Not that I'm saying that Sean O'Malley doesn't have, stylistic advantages in certain points like we've already talked about, but I am going to side with the former champion Petr Yan to get the nod on the judges' scorecards or potentially get a third-round finish. So I'm going to go with Petr No Mercy Yan to win this fight via 29-27 unanimous decision. I think he loses the first round, making the reads, wins the second round, picking it up after that midpoint and, going on after chopping low, working the body, and then working up top with the boxing. And then I think he dominates in that third round. If anything, I think that Petr Yan is most live for a third round finish, but I'm going to side with the fact that O'Malley survives and makes it to the scorecards and we're going to get a 29-27 unanimous decision victory for the number 1 ranked Petr No Mercy Yan over the number 12 ranked Sugar Sean O'Malley. But I got to side with the former champion. I got to side with Yan, but I do see the advantages that are afforded to Sean O'Malley in this fight.